So within RabbitMQ, you can see that we have got no connections, we've got no channels, no exchanges, so only the default ones, no queues, and pretty much we wrote a bunch of code, but we don't see nothing yet. Well, in order for us to see the queue as well as the exchange, we have to start notification. So what we need in order to start notification is the following. Within notification, what we're going to do is, let's open up the notification application. And what I want to do is to bring in, so these dependencies right here. So I want to bring this class right here. So RabbitMQ message producer, so that we can test whether we can send a message to notification MQ from notification. So in here, let's go ahead and, so here we need to say scan and then base packages. This will be com.amigos code. And then if I press Control space, we have notification, comma, and then here AMQP. So now it means that I can have, so let's just have a command line runner. And this command line runner will allows us to inject. So we want to inject a couple of things inside. So in a second, so return, and this is like this, args, and semicolon in here. This has to be a bin. There we go. So inside now we can inject the producer. So RabbitMQ message producer. And if I put this full screen, so let me just call it producer. And also I want to inject, so let's inject the notification config. So notification and then config and notification config. So what I want to do is the following. I just want to see whether I can say producer dot and then publish foo, comma, and then the exchange comes from notification config dot and then get internal exchange. Let's just put this on a new line, and then comma in here, notification config, and then get internal notification routing key. So hopefully this should work. So let's just put a breakpoint in here and let's start the Eureka server. There we go. And while this is starting, so let's open up notification, and we also have to specify where the RabbitMQ lives. So here, just say RabbitMQ addresses. And in here, so if you're running within a cluster, you can specify all the addresses. But in our case, remember, inside of docker.compose, this is a port 5672. So here, just say localhost and then 5672. There we go. And this is not HTTP, and it has its own protocol. And you can say, I think it's AMPQ, Advanced Message Queue System, column, and then you can specify this. But this should just work. And I've just realized that there is a typo, so this should be localhost. And now let's start notification, but in debug mode. So let's just put breakpoint there, and hopefully we should stop in here. So just give it a second. And I like to put this full screen because my font is quite big. But hopefully we should stop, create table, and off you go. So you can see that we've stopped. And now you can see that in here, things are wired up correctly, and we are about to publish. So I just want to make sure that things were wired up correctly, but technically we don't need this breakpoint. So if I open up debug and then continue, go to console, have a look. Let's just have a look in here, and there we go. So we have a couple of messages, but what I want to show you is if I scroll up, this is from our producer, this log line here, and it says publishing to internal exchange using routing key, internal notification routing key, and then the payload was foo. Then it was attempting to connect to localhost 5672 using the caching connection factory, then created a new connection using the Rabbit connection factory, which you've seen before. And then finally we have published to internal, and this is our log. So the payload was foo, and we are good to go. So if I open up the RabbitMQ management console, and then in here, so if I click on queues, check this out. We have one message which is ready. So this is nice. Now, if I open up notification.queue, and in here, you can see that I can get messages. So I can get one message. Let me just say get the message, and ta-da, the payload is full right here. So we managed to send a message to our queue. Now let me go back and collapse this, and let me stop this in debug. So I usually don't run things in debug unless I need to, but what I want to do is let's just have a record in here, and I'm going to say person, and this person will have string name and then int age, just like that. Now instead of foo right here, I'm going to say new and then person, just like that. And then the name, I'm going to say Ali, and then the age, let's say Ali is 18. So let's start the notification application once more, but this time without running in debug. And let's have a look at the logs. So you can see that it actually did manage to publish right here, right? So publishing, and then let's have a look at the payload. You can see this was the object, and then in here we did manage to send the payload. And by the way, this is what I was saying about the URL. So AMQ right here, right? So this is the protocol, but I've just said, so let me just show you before I forget. So in here, I've just said localhost, but if you want, you can use this right here. So this is the protocol. But anyways, let me close this. Let me open up the management console for RabbitMQ. And now if I click on queues again, we have two messages which are ready. Let me go into this queue. And if I get message, I only get foo, but I can say give me, let's say 10 messages, get, and you can see message 1 in here is foo. Message 2 is, have a look. This now is a JSON payload, and this is what we have configured in our backend. So this is working beautifully. Now, obviously, I don't want to do anything with these messages. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say purge messages. So basically, we won't be able to recover these messages, but that's fine. And this is now purged. And if I click on queues, and then you can see that actually, I don't think this is right, but let's just go inside, get messages, and you can see the queue is now empty. Finally, I'm going to close this and go back to IntelliJ, and inside of this main application, I'm just going to I'm going to comment this so that if you want to run this, you can just uncomment, right? So there you have it. Catch me on the next one.